You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now present the Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Health Hub. I'm Kathy Biasi, your host, and along with our producer, Alex Diaz, we would like to welcome you to our show this morning. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Kathy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Today, I got my groceries early this morning, which was good to see because I'm starting to get hungry already. But we'll make it through the next little while here before we get prepared for me to start cooking my meal.
Oh, good for you. That's an early start to the day.
I've got some fish that I've bought for this week with a bit of meat. I haven't stayed away from meat for these last couple of weeks, but trying to remind myself and reintroduce it into my diet occasionally.
Change it up, add some vitamins. Good.
Exactly.
That's good. We're going to talk about a vitamin today, actually, in a couple of minutes.
Oh, very well. Very good.
Today's show is taped again, so no opportunity for calling in, but please do follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we are at the Health Hub RMC on all three locations. And do feel free to email us at thh@radiomaria.ca if you have any questions for us or want to propose any show suggestions. Anything is great. We'd love to hear from you. And please do subscribe to our podcast. We are the Health Hub on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, all of your favorite podcast platforms. And you can find our podcast on the Radio Maria Canada website, which is radiomaria.ca, and on my website, which is kathybiasi.com. So apropos to just what we talked about, I wanted to talk a bit about vitamin C. It's probably the most well-known in some circles, in some situations. Vitamin C, we always hear about it in oranges, and we kind of know that it's important. It's common, and so sometimes, as it goes with human nature, common things we just don't think about too much. But when it comes to strengthening the immune system, and in the situation that we're facing now with COVID-19, I've heard a lot more about vitamin C and suggesting vitamin C. So I thought maybe I would just give you a little bit about the different types of vitamin C, because it can be a little confusing, and I've had people ask which type of vitamin C supplement I should take. So I thought I'd spend a bit of time and go over that with you. So vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin. So that means that it dissolves in water. And it also means that it's not stored in our body like the fat-soluble vitamins. So if we have too much vitamin C at once, it will come out in our urine. It is supposed to be consumed every day. It's in many, many plants and many foods that we eat. So generally speaking, we can get adequate amounts of vitamin C from what we eat. However, we often don't eat enough of the right foods. So adding vitamin C, or if you're trying to strengthen your immune system, is a good addition to your health regime. And vitamin C is important for the protein used to make and strengthen our skin, tendons, and ligaments. It helps us to heal from wounds. It helps to repair and maintain our cartilages and bones. And it's also very important for the absorption of iron. So it has many, many functions. It's an antioxidant, and it's just because it's so pervasive in our health. we talk about it a lot. So let's talk about the different types of vitamin C supplementation. So there is ascorbic acid. So this is the form of vitamin C that's naturally found in foods. It is fairly bioavailable, has some very good bioavailability, but some people taking in a supplement form can find it a little bit tough on the gut. It can be a little bit hard to tolerate. There is vitamin C that are fortified, or the bioflavonoids are added to it. These compounds are added to the supplement, often to deliver extra immune benefits, and also can help to increase the bioavailability of vitamin C. Mineral ascorbates, such as calcium and magnesium ascorbates, are often called buffered vitamin C. So when you're finding a supplement that's called a vitamin C supplement, it's called buffered. It's done so with the calcium and magnesium ascorbate. And many people find these to be a gentler form of vitamin C, so better tolerated. But you do have to consider the mineral dosage that you're taking with the vitamin C. So you're going to be getting calcium with, in a vitamin C that has the calcium ascorbate. So you just need to be a little bit mindful that you're not getting too much of it. Mm-hmm. And then there's the time-released vitamin C, and this is often preferred for people because of the bioavailability. It's released in smaller amounts throughout the day. So a time-release formula, what it's aiming to do is solve the problem of you having to take multiple doses of vitamin C. Because as I said, you can't take a large dose and have it stay in your body. If your body doesn't absorb it, it's released into the system. So on a time-release basis, it's taking away that issue of having to take different allotments of the vitamin C. Yeah. You got it? Is that clear as mud?
Just about, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I know it can be a little bit convoluted, but there you have it. A lot of people are very interested. There's also vitamin C, IV vitamin C, which is given in a naturopathic setting usually, and that's to help boost the immune system and give you benefits right into the body through an IV technology. So that's often used. You hear that often in the area of cancer care. So although, as I said, sometimes when something is common, we tend to devalue it because it's heard of a lot. Vitamin C is critical for our health, and especially now, it's a very good preventative. So you can get it in many forms. You can get it in a multi, but there you go. Some information for you.
Thanks, Kat.
Now, you're very welcome. Now on to a different vitamin. We have Dr. Barrie Tan here, and we're going to be diving into vitamin E. Dr. Barrie, and specifically the tocotrienols, but he will explain the difference amongst the vitamin E, the two parts of the vitamin E. So we'll get into that. I don't want to take away from his thunder, but Dr. Barrie Tan is hailed as a trailblazer and the world's foremost expert on vitamin E, credited with discovering tocotrienol in 3 major natural sources: palm, rice, and annatto. A scientist first and foremost, Dr. Tan earned his Ph.D. in chemistry and biochemistry from the University of Otago, New Zealand, and spent several years as a professor at UMass. Today, his research focuses on lipid-soluble nutrients that reduce and slow chronic conditions. It's a very interesting topic. I came into meeting Dr. Tan listening to a webinar where he was differentiating tocotrienols from tocopherols, and you'll come to understand the difference and the really potent benefits of tocotrienols. So the learning points today, some of the learning points are going to be: what are tocotrienols? What are the health benefits of tocotrienols? And why should we not combine the 2 types of vitamin E in a supplement form? So we will be back to talk to Dr. Tan in a few minutes.
I don't want to hear anymore. Teach me to listen. I don't want to see anymore. Give me a vision that you could move this heart to be set apart. I don't need to recognize the man in the mirror, and I don't want to trade your plan for something familiar. I can't waste a day, I can't stay the same. I wanna be different, I wanna be changed, till all of me is gone, and all that remains is a fire so bright the whole world can see that there's something different. So come and be different in me. And I don't want to spend my life stuck in a pattern, and I don't want to gain this world but lose what matters. So I'm giving up everything because I want to be different. I want to be changed till all of me is gone, and all that remains is a fire so bright the whole world can see that there's something different. So come and be different. Oh, I know that I am far from perfect, but through you the cross still says I'm worth it. So take this beating in my heart and come and finish what you started. When they see me, let them see you, 'cause I just wanna be different, yeah. I wanna be different, I wanna be changed till all of me is gone, and all that remains, oh, is a fire so bright the whole world can see that there's something different. So come and be different. I just wanna be different. So could you be different in me?
You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now continue with the program, The Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back, everybody. As you know, this show is being taped, so no opportunity for call-in, but please do follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We are at the Health Hub RMC on all three places, and do feel free to email us at thh@radiomaria.ca if you have any questions about this show, about our guest, Dr. Tan, anything you'd like to talk to us about. Dr. Tan, I wanted to thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to talk to us about tocotrienols.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on the show. Looking forward to this.
Yes, it's an interesting topic, not one that's common knowledge. And before we get into maybe your interests in the nutrient, maybe tell us actually what now I say it tocotrienols. Is that the right way to say it, or is it tocotrienols?
People have said it both ways, tocotrienol or tocotrienol. I usually use the latter, tocotrienol.
Okay, we'll go with that one. So what exactly is tocotrienol?
It is part of the vitamin E family, and the common vitamin E that people know is tocopherol on your cereal box, and that has been known since the 1920s, almost 100 years ago. About halfway through 50 years ago, or 50 years after the first discovery of tocopherol, and then the USDA, as well as researchers in University of Birmingham in England, they discovered this new vitamin E that has 3 double bonds, and hence the word tri. So it's tocotrienol. So it's exactly the same as a tocopherol, except that the tail has 3 double bonds. And then that's it. And so that has been known for now 50 years.
So is this, are these, you know how the vitamin B complex is a number of different vitamins. Is this similar to that idea? So you've got the whole vitamin and this is a portion of the complete vitamin?
That's a very good question. is not like the vitamin B. The vitamin B is a cluster of vitamin called B for the reason there's a second one that they figure out, and it has to do with growth factor. The B vitamin has to do with growth factor, energy production, and they are water soluble. It was just a nomenclature dependent on something very arbitrary. Oh. But with the vitamin E, as is some other vitamin, they are structurally similar. So they are not different other functions. And so when the E was found, it was largely found to help the fetus to go to full term. And most people may not even know that. That is actually what vitamin E was. It's a birth vitamin. But most people today know vitamin E as an antioxidant, how they protect our body. And the tocotrienol became 50 years after tocopherol, which is why people don't hear about it so much, because the tocopherol masked the understanding of tocotrienol. But the last 30 years in particular, and we have put a lot of efforts at universities throughout the world. And some of them came from Canada as well, that they started to study this compound and bring forth the understanding of what this compound could do that the plant makes as different from tocopherol.
So why would you not take a whole vitamin E? Why separate it into the two parts? Or do they come as a package?
No, they don't. Your question can be split into two. Oftentimes in nature, when it makes keratin, for example, we have 700 of them. Polyphenol, we probably have about 1,000 of them. They are mixture. And the concept that populate our mind would be that if nature makes it as a host of them, then it would be like an orchestra, like a spectrum. It does have a good ring in them because this is how the plant makes them. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes we say that when they do that it become additive and synergistic. And it could also do that. But rarely, and this becomes a rare exception in tocopherol and tocotrienol, rarely, but it does happen. If there is a possibility that things interact with another to be synergistic, things can also interact with one another to be antagonistic. But the second part, antagonistic, most people do not want to spend the time doing that, and it's understandable. So far, I know of 2 antagonistic nutritional supplements. I don't mean drug interaction, even a lot more. And for example, I'll say the other one before I say the vitamin E thing, because it is well known and your listening audience most certainly would know about this. The color of light keratin. We take beta carotene, we take lutein for the eye, lycopene for lung health, and astaxanthin as an antioxidant. They're all keratins like that. Mm-hmm. Now, the first most popular keratin is beta carotene. Before there were lycopene, astaxanthin, and lutein, zeaxanthin, all of these other things. And then there are 650 more of them. Most of them you can only find in nature when you eat vegetable, not from the supplement side. Well, since beta carotene was popularly known to convert to vitamin A, and it's good for the eye, rhodopsin, and all these wonderful things. So when people come to know about lutein and zeaxanthin, which is for the macula, it's also for the eye, but it's on the back side of the eye that have the reception of the images. And then people start to think, oh, beta carotene is good for the eye, and lutein lycopene is good for the eye, then we should take it together. And then came Phyllis Bowen, Professor Bowen, B-O-W-E-N. She was I'm pretty sure she's retired now. She was at the University of Illinois in Chicago. She decided to study if people take beta carotene and lutein together, what would happen? You would expect it to be synergistic. And I think she must have a reason to suspect otherwise. And then she did, and she found out that beta carotene interferes with the absorption of lutein. So there is an example that is not synergistic, it's antagonistic. Precisely the same is that of tocopherol and tocotrienol. Tocopherol it has a transport protein, meaning that it has a chaperone. The chaperone is a protein mostly. It holds on to the alpha tocopherol and brings it right in. Everybody else have to line up and have passive diffusion, call it. They slowly come in. That's the same thing for beta carotene. It has a transport protein that just take it in, but not so for lutein, and also not so for tocotrienol. Therefore, if you wish to mine the benefit of a lutein for macular degeneration and tocotrienol, which I'm sure you're going to ask me about the different function it could do, then you would want to take it without the presence of tocopherol. Otherwise, the tocopherol will block the absorption of the tocotrienol. So that's the reason.
Okay. So what food is vitamin E found in?
Vitamin E is found in food that are rich in oil. For example, avocado, nuts, pistachio, coconut, palm. Sometimes people take vegetable oil for cooking, soybean oil, corn oil, and the olive oil. These vegetable oil frequently contain, I'm just using a broad sweep number, more than 95% of the time tocopherol, and 5-10% of the time tocotrienol, such that if you take a normal food with vegetable oils and nuts, one would probably get about 10 to 12 milligram of tocopherol, and one would get probably about 2, at most 3 milligram of tocotrienol, almost infinitesimal, especially if we have a Western diet.
Got it. Okay. So vitamin E, in case people don't know, is a fat-soluble vitamin as a package. Now, maybe you could explain what a fat-soluble vitamin is to everybody. But my bigger question here is, once you've split off the vitamin E into two pieces, are the tocotrienols also fat-soluble, or are they different from the tocopherols?
Okay. Both tocopherol and tocotrienol are fat soluble.
Okay.
And then you mentioned the first one. What is fat soluble? How about I distinguish the one that is definitely water soluble? Okay. The B vitamins and the C, vitamin B and C are water soluble. Probably all the other vitamins are lipid soluble. A, D, E, and K. They are lipid soluble. Lipid soluble means that they don't dissolve in water. They dissolve in oil and fat. And then simplistically and largely true, that if you want the benefit of this lipid soluble vitamin, one should take it with a meal, because with a meal, there will be enough fat and there will be enough other things that will churn in our stomach and then emulsify in our gut, and then they would absorb. Otherwise, if it's just taken orally on with a glass of water and you don't have food in the stomach, it does not absorb properly. So that's simplistically. And even our body teaches us that. If we take food in the stomach, after it's churned and digested, it goes into the gut. The moment it goes into the gut, the body, our brain will tell our body to secrete pancreatic juice and emulsifier. We just call it bile salt, the bitter element from the bile that comes through. And then those are actually our own body's making of its natural detergent. So detergent will tend to emulsify, kind of like your hand is oily, you put soap, and then you can see it washes off. Then so in the body, it's not washes off. In the body, the emulsifier will come and wrap around the lipid-soluble material, make it a little bit watery, and then it would absorb. So scientists call it emulsifying. So if you emulsify it well, then it would absorb well. And if it's not emulsified well on a lipid-soluble thing, then it just pass through the GI tract and then would just come out and won't be absorbed.
Got it. So let's get into digging deeply into the tocotrienols. Why do you have an interest in this portion of vitamin E?
It was not an intent, although your question is intentional. It became intentional now. I was, as an assistant professor at the University of Massachusetts, teaching chemistry at the time. And then I went on to do food science and nutrition. So the year I started in University of Massachusetts in Amherst was in 1982. Barely a year after that, I was studying palm oil. At the time, palm oil is not viewed very positively because of saturated fat, but I wasn't working on the fat side. But I noticed that the palm oil is intensely orange color. And then I later found out that it was carotene, because most vegetable oil is light, a yellowish color, but not intensely orange color like an orange peel color or carrot color. That's a little bit not the normal. So, and these carotenes are very unstable, Cassie. So when I was looking at them, at first I remove all the fat and I remove all the color. Then I always have like very tiny amount, like 0.5% or 0.1% of something light, pale yellow color that isn't the carotene, that isn't the fat, which is most of it, but it never goes away. So every time I did it, it's the same. So my curiosity was aroused. So I went to study it and I noticed that it's got very high antioxidant property. So immediately I sent an email to the funding government in Malaysia, because Malaysia and Indonesia produce a lot of palm oil. They said, oh no, that's just vitamin E. Then I thought, oh, all right, they just say it's vitamin E. So when I analyzed it, I saw that there are 4 components, 4 peaks. Only one of them matches vitamin E, is an alpha tocopherol. So I let them know it again. Said that, you know, there's 3 other things there. I don't know what it is. He said, I have already identified the vitamin E. Now, they don't seem to be highly interested at the time, but I was at the university. I was curious. And then I found, when deeper research found out that there were tocotrienol. That was a little 35 years ago, 1984, when I discovered that. And then since then, my entire scientific career have been arrested. So this is definitely not a flash in the pan. So the last 35 years, I stay with this compound, believing that it could have a nutritional benefit, and have done many research in the following decades to attest what this tocotrienol vitamin E could do that has properties unshared by the tocopherol.
Now, did you say there were different types of tocotrienols?
Yeah, they have the 4 Greek letters, alpha, beta, delta, and gamma. It just means different groups attached to the ring. Just try to have a picture, a vitamin E molecule, whether it's tocopherol or tocotrienol, look like a tadpole or a sperm. It has a head, and then it's a tail. A tocopherol tail is longer. A tocotrienol tail is slightly shorter because the double bond makes it shorter. And then the head is the antioxidant side. And this particular molecule snugs in perfectly onto the phospholipid, which means the cell membrane of a cell. All cell must have a membrane, otherwise it will disembowel. You can't have that. So the content of the cell must be wrapped around a cell membrane. This is particularly important because most of the content in the cell membranes are fat. And then they have to keep the content inside and not come out. And then, so therefore the fat, in order for it to maintain its integrity, the fat had to be protected from oxidation. So precisely because of this, vitamin E molecule is a perfect antioxidant. So I'm hoping that your audience will probably have heard of the word antioxidant many a time. But sometimes the word antioxidant is used quite trite because everybody say antioxidant. So I'm hoping to appeal to your audience. The antioxidant, if you want to cut the noise off, the antioxidant that is important is the antioxidant that protects fat. Why? Because fat is the easiest thing to oxidize. By the time you oxidize your protein, which we don't want our protein to be oxidized, understand. We don't want our DNA and nucleic acid to be oxidized, understand. Also, we also don't want our carbohydrate to be oxidized, also true. But none of those come close to the way in which fat is oxidized. You just have to put a stick of butter on a hot summer day in Toronto. You'll know exactly what I mean. It's the first to smell that. And also when you see the foul smell of a roadkill, that is not the protein. It's not anything else. It's the fat It just turns you off because the fat immediately have a stench. It's the fat oxidation. So when it comes to a human body, because each of us have approximately lean 20% fat, and on the other end, maybe even 30% fat. So some 20-30% of our body weight on fat need to be primarily protected, and vitamin E molecule is perfect for that.
That's very interesting. And you're so right about antioxidants being thrown around and what they do, because we talk about oxidation and it's a natural part of body function. A lot of that talk though is around metabolic processes and using antioxidants for grabbing free radicals from metabolic processes. But the natural breakdown of fat that we don't talk about a lot, and the antioxidants that we need to protect those fats, you're right, it's not talked about quite as much, and maybe not something, cell structure may not be something that we focus on enough. It's a very important point to come across. I've hesitated in asking you about the health benefits of the tocotrienols. I think I'm going to take a break because I want to spend the whole next segment talking about the health benefits of this. I didn't want to interrupt you as we were going through it. So let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and Dr. Tan is really going to discuss with you why tocotrienols are so vital for your health.
We're all related, brothers and strangers. The king and the beggar bleed the same. We've all got a sickness, a terminal condition. We medicate it, but the pain won't go away. See the eyes of a million faces, looking forward in a million places. Only one can save us, Jesus. You are searching for it. Everybody's reaching out, trying to grab a hold of something real. You are the cure. Only you can satisfy us, fill up the void inside us. Never been a heart you couldn't heal. You are the the doctor, healer and father to the orphan without a home. Oh, we fell into darkness, lost till you found us. You're the remedy we're looking for. You are the cure. Everybody's searching for it. Everybody's reaching out, trying to grab a hold of something real. You are the cure. Only you can satisfy us, fill up the void inside us. Never been a heart you couldn't heal. You are the cure.
You are listening to The Health Hub here on Radio Maria Canada, a Catholic voice wherever you are. To contact us and be a part of the show, email thh@radiomaria.ca. We now continue with the program. Here once again is your host, Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back, everybody. We are talking with Dr. Barrie Tan, and we are going to spend the next segment of the show talking about the health benefits of tocotrienols. So what has impelled you the most to carry on and dig into the benefits of these tocotrienols?
Mostly because, of course, just like the path of true love doesn't run smooth, the path of true research definitely does not run smooth. When I first discovered tocotrienol from palm oil and rice bran oil, I did know that the tocotrienol do a good job. The problem is palm and rice tocotrienol contains 25 to 30% tocopherol. As I indicated earlier, the tocopherol put brakes on the function of tocotrienol. So then about 22 years ago, I happened to be in South America, and I can't speak a word of Spanish. I was there looking for something else, looking for lutein actually, because of macular degeneration. There was a Harvard professor, her name was Johanna Seedon, and Professor Seedon said that the eye contains lutein and is good for the eye. Now it's abundantly known. Everybody knows lutein is good for the eye. So I went there to look for the giant marigold, which I did. The petal contains lutein to extract. That's also what I did. We found it. But fate has it that about 20 feet away from me, I saw this plant called Annatto. The Spanish people call it achoite. The British call it the lipstick plant because of the intense red color. It's another carotenoid. But the pot opened beautifully, and we use it in the West to color cheeses. But I noticed that, and I asked a question, there must be something powerful antioxidant to protect the color from degradation. And to have the story simplified, this Annatto a color that is protected is then the strong antioxidant is tocotrienol. So we took it back, did the analysis, and it's the first time, to my surprise and my chemist's surprise, that it contained only tocotrienol, free of tocopherol. So I knew if tocotrienol would do all these wonderful things, I found a natural source of it. It's right from the Amazonia. So in the 2 decades after I discovered it, we started to do research on them. And the two components in them is delta tocotrienol and gamma tocotrienol. And we systematically study chronic conditions as we age, such as fatty liver, such as lipidemia, meaning that cholesterol and the triglyceride are high for people that have diabetes or metabolic syndrome. And of course, a well-known and not a welcome chronic condition would be cancer. So those are the major things we are studying. And the last thing we're currently studying is postmenopausal women with obesity. We already study postmenopausal women with osteopenia before they become osteoporotic. So I'd like to share with you some of the findings of this after we've done many, many years of animal studies. So the clinical trials are these. We did cancer study on, it is done in Denmark, on men and women. Some, of course, is only for women. On the women, one is breast cancer, ovarian cancer. And then on the one, the men and women, colon cancer, lung cancer, what's the other one? Pancreatic cancer. So those are the ones that we choose. There are many more other cancers, but we cannot spend resources on so many other cancers, which we would like to, but couldn't. Actually, if there were to be a sixth one, I'd like to do liver cancer. Mm-hmm. But we're not quite there to do that yet. Of all the studies been done, 2 of them are out, the ovarian cancer and the pancreatic cancer. Let me speak about the ovarian cancer. We recruited women on stage 4 ovarian cancer. So the odds are not good because the cancer have gone just about everywhere. So the normal drug that they use is called Avastin. They just stop the tumor from growing like that. And then the other group would be Avastin plus tocotrienol, 300 milligrams 3 times a day with breakfast, lunch, dinner. And after 1 year, the survival is about 60%. And the one that are taking just the drug by itself, most of them are not living. And even after 24 months, 25% of those that took tocotrienol are still living. For this one, where the 5-year survival rate is 50%, is remarkable. Tocotrienol is not a drug. So we just published this. So we are continuing the study. The breast cancer trial probably will complete by the end of this year. So hopefully we'll know result next year. The coronavirus trouble stopped so that the study could continue. Right. But if not, then we should expect results sometime next year. The other cancer study is pancreatic cancer. As you know, and your audience know, pancreatic cancer is probably the deadliest of all cancer, and most people don't make it, with that. And that study is done in Tampa, Florida. So they did that study designed a little differently. They're not stage 4 cancer. They are coming in for surgery. So they only received tocotrienol 14 days, and 14 days only prior to surgery, because they can't wait when they have pancreatic cancer. So they have the lowest dose at 200 milligram tiny to the highest dose, which is about 3 grams, which is very high. And then they found out that the dose that is just seemed to be the optimal would be somewhere between 500 to 600 milligrams, one finding. The second finding is the lowest dose at 200 milligrams, when they excise the tumor, they can see the death of the cancer from the scopes study. So they're waiting for the government, the US government, to fund into a next study on the elderly population, possibly in Miami and Tampa like that. That has not started. So those are the findings. The other studies are awaiting. And in animal study, they almost certainly shrink the tumor, kill the cancer, all these wonderful things. And if the audience wanted to, you can go to PubMed, you type tocotrienol and cancer, there will be hundreds of papers on this. So we're only focusing on the clinical trial. Now, outside the cancer, the other chronic condition, we study bone health. We study postmenopausal women, bone resorption after and menopause, the bone that kind of like closed out the bone increase, and so the bone thin. So it reduce the ability of the bone to resorb or break down. And it increased the ability of the bone to have turnover, to build up the bone. She's not going to become on the bone health like a puberty girl, 15 to 25, not like that. But at least the breakdown is not enhanced and the build-up is increased, so that perhaps the ability to resist bone loss would increase. And the oxidative stress to her body also is impeded. And this, the women were taking 300 milligrams a day. We have a separate study which is on fat, lipidemia, and cholesterol. The cholesterol dropped 15%, the bad cholesterol LDL also about 15-20%, and triglyceride dropped. And these people were taking 250 to 500 milligrams. And because the triglyceride dropped, so I got an idea that I should do study on metabolic syndrome, because people with metabolic syndrome, before, if they have diabetes, then the sugar will be rocket high. But before that, the sugar goes high, usually the triglyceride go up first. So we decided to study people who have metabolic syndrome, who have fatty liver disease. So we finished a study of 3 months. We gave them 600 milligrams a day. And then we did another study and finished a study for 6 months. So therefore, we have 2 strong data points. And so convinced we are on this, we're actually conducting a study on 12 months. It's ongoing, won't be complete until next year. Anyhow, the data for the 3 months and 6 month study, simplistically, but actual. First, the fatty liver index at 3 months is dropped 11% and 16% at 6 months. The C-reactive protein, which is a measurement of inflammation of the of the body, particularly the liver. Many people know C-reactive protein is measuring inflammation, but many people do not know that C-reactive protein is produced in the liver. So since we're studying fatty liver disease, perfect. So the CRP dropped 18% at 3 months and 24% at 6 months. So we know there's not a dose dependent, but it's a time dependent. And then something we did not expect, Kathy, was that at 3 months, because they're moderately overweight, they lost 10 pounds at 3 months, and at 6 months, they dropped 17 pounds. I do not consider vitamin E tocotrienol to be a weight loss product, but if they do lose weight, particularly their metabolic syndrome and NAFLD, non-alcohol fatty liver disease, it's a good thing to have a weight loss. So that's that part, and the inflammation also is controlled. So so convinced we are on this, we're now started a study in Texas to study a 6 months trial, 300 milligrams, to study inflammation marker and weight loss on women with obesity. So the study is ongoing. We would not know the result until towards the end of next year.
So Dr. Tan, is this all because of its antioxidant value, or are there other mechanisms of action that you're finding?
It is both. When we measure antioxidant, we try to measure the ones that are not obvious to the eye, like a degraded C-reactive protein, measurement of oxidized fat, measurement of oxidized protein, measurement of any antioxidant enzymes in the body, like glutathione, superoxide dismutase, those kind of things, if we're looking at the oxidation pathway. We also look at the non-oxidation pathway, particularly in the cancer. It is a little bit naive to say that cancer, if you control your body with antioxidant protection, then the cancer would go away. That simply is a little bit too simplistic. So in the cancer route, we look for, is there anything that the tocotrienol could do to turn off the DNA, so the DNA of the cancer cell would not be immortalized and then they never die and overcome the cell. That is a process called apoptosis, and we did that, and it did that. The second thing on the cancer thing we did was, when the cancer is more than about 2 millimeters, it's a tiny tumor. And then they would have aberrant artery growing from itself to the nearby artery because they're growing furiously. So they need nutrient coming to them fast. So this process of growing this kind of like aberrant artery is called angiogenesis, growing of new artery. And the tocotrienol works to snap off and cut off the artery, essentially starving the tumor to death. So tocotrienol is an anti-angiogenic agent. So we found that tocotrienol can do that as well. So those mechanisms are distinctively different from antioxidant. Like that.
Now, would this be a supplement that air quote, healthy person would take? Or is this a supplement that you're suggesting for someone who is suffering a health issue or a chronic disease?
It would be for the gamut. This is how I would frame that. For a healthy person, because we have 38 trillion cells in our body, they need the antioxidant protection, like I mentioned at the beginning. For the cell wall to be protected, there will be an antioxidant protection, then approximately 100 to 250 milligrams per day. If the person have a mild chronic condition, and I explained some of them earlier, then probably 300 to 400 milligrams per day would work. Then I give that range because the person's weight is different, every person's weight. And then the third one, if a person have an advanced chronic condition, like the example that I gave, then probably 450 to 600 milligrams. And these are not high doses, and these are not doses that you can find from food. As I mentioned, tocotrienol from food is a mere 2 to 3 milligrams per day.
So I just had two questions pop into my head. Now, for someone like myself who has had cancer, would I be considered, is cancer prevention in the lower range, or would you say more, 300 to 400 milligrams a day?
I would say 300 to 400 milligrams per day, because I read your website. You are a cancer survivor, and so to maintain that and to ward away after the cancer had come and gone, there's this thing called cancer stem cell. So these are raw cells, and we know very little of it. When you kill the cancer raw cells, this cancer stem cell, they circulate about 0.5% of them. Too many, it never come back, thank God. And when they come back, we also don't know how they come back. So when people have relapse, usually our mind thinks it's relapse because the cancer that is the deadly one came back. It could be the cancer is nail, but the cancer stem cell re-express themselves again. That is not the original cancer. So for that, I would say 300 to 400 milligrams would be apropos.
Perfect. Now, you are working with the Annatto plant. There's a new supplement that you are investigating. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I will. I acronize this to GG. The compound is called gyranol, and one can go on the website. It's spelled GERANYL, like an adjective, and then GERANIOL. So GG. And then this compound is an endogenous compound, which means our body naturally makes it. And then our body don't make enough as we age. So therefore, if our body makes it, it's easier to study, because if our body makes this compound is made for a reason. What does it do? And it's a building block. This compound make other famous things that you and I know about, like coenzyme Q10, energy ATP conversion, all these wonderful things. It also is used for making manoquinone, particularly MK4, which is good for the bone health, and also for the structure of the cell. And so that's what the compound can make, and also in the making of proteins. So now, as we age, this compound decrease, and this can help to replenish them. Now, certain things will accelerate the need for GG. And two things in particular. We take statin drugs to lower cholesterol. Women take bisphosphonate to impede the bone loss. Both of these two drugs, statins and bisphosphonate, they're on the same pathway as GG is being made in the body. So when we take this statin drug and let's take statin drug because it's the most common one to lower cholesterol. When they lower cholesterol, they lower GG also. So I refer to statin drug. Yes, it lowers cholesterol, but it is an indiscriminate cholesterol reducer such that it decimates other things. And GG is one of those. It got mowed down too. So if you take statin drug and GG would drop, so what would be the consequence? The consequence would be people cannot make enough protein, and that's why the doctor says that you have do you have myopathy or back pain? See, it's another way of expressing protein synthesis problem. Or the CoQ10 drop, because CoQ10 and protein synthesis require GG to be made. So I'm very excited about this, working furiously to see what GG inhibition could mean to our body and how this could be strengthened. So it is available in the US, but not yet in Canada.
And in Canada, so the tocotrienols are not commonly known. In Canada, is there a supplement available to us?
Yes. The website would be www.Annatto. The letter ABCDE. Annatto is spelled ANNATTO.ca. And then that will lead you to one. Otherwise, the Amazon in Canada, the other two companies which we know, doing it in Canada is called ecological formulas and nutricology. It's a play on the word nutrition and pharmacology, nutricology. And then ecological formula, Amazon, and then annatto.ca. I think that's a Design for Health website. So, no?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, sorry. I was told not. So anyway, if you go to annatto.ca, that you'll find out more. So, and then also, if the audience listening on would like a copy of my book, you can download. It's free. It's a labor of love. How I talked about the different kind of ailment it prevent and my discovery of the tocotrienol from Annatto. So if you spell my name, BarrieTan, barrietan.com. And then since you hear this from Health Hub, then you can type that as a code, then you should be able to download the whole book. It's an easy read, 60, 70 pages book.
Excellent. And I will definitely put that once the radio show goes to a podcast, I'll put all that detail so they will be evergreen so people can go to the website, they can go to the podcast and get all that information as well. So many more questions I wanted to ask you, but we've pushed up against the clock. So Dr. Tan, I don't want to take any more of your valuable time. Thank you so much for sharing this information. It's new to many people and it's cutting edge and it's an important piece of a total health plan. So thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate you coming in and enlightening all of us.
Thank you, Kathy. And if any of your audience have questions, can send us an email to the extent possible. We'll try to answer them. Have a blessed day and happy health.
Thank you so much. And everybody, we will talk to you next week on The Health Hub.
You have been listening to The Health Hub